I now have the honor and great pleasure of introducing Johnson's beloved ray of sunshine, Professor Risa Mish. From teaching leading teams, critical thinking, and the JLF program, to serving as the advisor for multiple clubs, and also just volunteering her time and services to the Johnson community, you probably don't need me to tell you just how much Risa contributes to our school. I've always admired Risa for her intellect, energy, and compassion. What really solidified my admiration for her and the fact that Risa is a true star in my mind is when back in last October, Risa was asked to teach a brand new boot camp version of her critical thinking course to the Tsinghua students. So teaching a new course to a new group of students is challenging in itself already, but what made it even more difficult was the fact that Risa broke her foot just moments before the students had to arrive on campus. But being in physical pain and on crutches didn't stop Risa from being able to teach critical thinking to the Tsinghua students for 5 hours straight for 3 consecutive days with the same energy and smile that we're all so fond of. Not once did Risa complain about her circumstances, and not surprisingly, all the students fell in love with her and really valued the skills and the work that they had done under her instruction. Risa, thank you so much for teaching us not only how to think more critically, but also how to never let obstacles stop us from getting things done. Your compassion and resilience are unparalleled, and we here at Johnson are so incredibly fortunate and grateful to have you as one of the leaders in our community. And now, without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our final speaker, Risa Mish.
The organizers of this event were very smart. I thought it was flattering that I would get to speak last, but I realize now that what they were trying to do was make sure that I would be brief. And so I shall be. We are going to switch up the tone quite a bit from that incredibly moving set of remarks from you, my dear friend, Professor Walton. It was really so beautiful. The irony should not be lost on anyone that I am the only one of the 4 of us attempting to use technology. All of my TAs are now breaking out into a sweat. So, 2 years ago, I celebrated my half-century birthday. Those of you who end up celebrating your 50th birthday here in the United States, let me tell you what is going to happen to you when you wake up on that day if you check your email. What will happen to you is, unsolicited, out of nowhere, you will get a birthday greeting. Seriously. From the American Association of Retired People. I have to tell you that when this popped up in my inbox, I was disconcerted because I thought to myself, surely I have at least a few good years left in me. I mean, I must, right? And then a group of students from the student council said to me, we'd like you to give a last lecture. Now I'm in a panic because I realize I'm about to be put out to pasture, right? And they say, no, don't feel bad actually, because we're actually going to have a whole group of you do this. We're going to have Mike Waldman, we're going to have Ord Heffitz, we're going to have Bill Schmidt speak at this thing, and I say, oh my God, what a beautiful, wonderful group of guys. And they say, yeah, and you. And I say, wow, you know what is so amazing? You convinced a chaired, tenured professor who undoubtedly is going to be a chaired professor someday, no doubt, and a tenure-track professor who undoubtedly is going to be a chaired, tenured professor someday. right? And so what I thought about, when I thought about the four of us all together, was Sesame Street. Some of you already know where I'm going. Yes, you do. Sesame Street. So Sesame Street launched in 1969 when I was 5 years old. That was the launch of Sesame Street, and it was a really, really big deal at the time. And especially for kids who were not well off, as I was not, Sesame Street was actually our teacher. And I used to watch this show every day. And every day, I kid you not, it would have on it, let's see if this is going to work, this would be amazing, this song. Please work.
One of these things is not like the others. These things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?
Yeah. So, I'm the thing that's not like the others today. And the truth of the matter is, I'm sort of used to that. I'm sort of used to it. If you were going to be a lawyer hanging out at a business school, you have to accept the fact that you will be the thing that's not like the others. And in many, many ways, I have been the thing that's not like the others throughout my entire career, for all kinds of reasons. I, as you know, spent most of my career in corporate law, which is a conservative and still male-dominated profession, and it certainly was even more that way when I joined it. And so, those of you who know me well, I mean, it's obvious I am not a male, and I am not conservative in any sense. Not politically, not by personality, not in any sense. My first day of work at a big, prestigious, global law firm, I showed up wearing a purple suit. Seriously. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it was probably really dark purple so that in soft lighting it could be mistaken for black. No. It was Prince and Purple Rain purple. Purple Rain came out when I was an undergraduate, and words cannot express how much I loved that album. I went and saw a movie in the theater. I saw it 3 times. I went and bought the soundtrack, which I wore out over and over and over again. I played this soundtrack. I thought Prince was so different, so startling, so inventive, so ingenious. So that's my excuse, I think, for why I showed up at a law firm in a purple suit. It was my tribute to that kind of uniqueness and genius. And because, by the way, we did not have social media back then, I did not document that outfit. I sort of regret that. But I did the next best thing. I went online to try and find the closest thing I could to what I was wearing that day. And it was this, and by the way, it had a matching skirt, exactly that color. Yes, it did. And I want to tell you what the description online is of this garment. Working girl, women's vintage purple blazer suit. So it's settled on vintage. The working girl part really, really threw me when I saw that, because I thought of myself this way. When I set foot in that law firm, I thought of myself as an incredibly chic, stylish future star of her own dramatic legal television show. That's what I thought. They apparently saw me as a figure from an 80s movie.
Sometimes I see him dance around the house in my underwear. Doesn't make me a Madonna. Never will.
That's how they saw me. And in fact, I probably was closer to the one than I was to the other. And so it was difficult. When I got off the elevator in the Prince in the Purple Rain suit, a very senior partner saw me and pulled me aside, shaking his head. And he said, "Look around you. Do you see anyone dressed like that?" And I looked around in my great naivete. I thought he was complimenting me, and I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Black, navy, charcoal gray. That's what we wear. Go out and buy yourself something like that." And it was very, very sobering, and it was very deflating. Some of the earliest feedback feedback I received went even beyond the way I dressed. It said, "You're very smart and talented, but you're too much. If you could just tone it down, that'd be great." This was really, really deflating to me. I could not understand it. I couldn't understand why I was not permitted to be who I was. The Australians actually have an expression for people who move through the world the way I did then, and probably still do. It's called being a tall poppy. And it's not intended as a compliment. The tall poppy must be cut down, because to be who you are, to own the fact that you are different, to own the fact that you are smart, talented, it's a no-no. You have to be cut down so that you look like all the other poppies in the field. The funny part about this is that here in business school, we talk about marketing and business strategy. We're always talking about what? Differentiation. If your product is exactly like everybody else's product, why is anybody going to buy yours? And in strategy, we talk about differentiation. That's the whole point. Find the thing that sets you apart. Because otherwise, why not just go with the competition? And yet, when we speak about people in organizations, what we tend to say is, be like everyone else, so that everyone will like you, so that everyone will be more comfortable, so that we'll all just be the same. That's the message a lot of us get a lot of the time. And it's not exactly very uplifting. It can be very, very demoralizing to be one of the things that's not like the others. Now, maybe this is a function of evolutionary biology, because way, way, way back in the day, I'm talking before Purple Rain, and even before Working Girl, and even before Sesame Street, if you were an iconoclast, a true individual, a free spirit, you were probably at higher risk of being a predator's dinner entree. The way that you gained safety was in numbers, and the way you got to be part of those numbers was by being like the rest of the group. So maybe it's true that evolution has evolved us toward conformity. Well, maybe, but guess what? We're not on the prehistoric savannah anymore. And people who are different, who can see a new way, people who are willing to bust old paradigms, people who are willing to blow the whole thing up and be who they are, those are the people, actually, that we should celebrate. I know I do. We tell you, be authentic. Isn't that what we tell you? And yet so often, when you try to be your authentic self, what you encounter is a world, a community, a situation that tries to rob you of what is authentically you. Don't let them. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a wise man before his time. He said to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And that's the truth. It's an accomplishment because it's so hard. So how do you get there? Well, first you start by understanding that the cost of not being who you are is enormous. I realized early in my career, and what I know now even more clearly, is that all the energy I would have spent trying to blend in more and be less much, that is energy I wouldn't have had to put into being excellent. We should aspire to be excellent. And we should allow all of us, every one of us, to bring our authentic selves to that endeavor. And I'd even submit to you that if you don't, if what you do is go into your jobs with a big mask on, you'll have a harder time being excellent. So let me give you my advice about how to be authentic, because it has been hard won for me, and I'd like it to be a little easier for you. The path to authenticity and fulfillment is paved by answering 3 questions. The first one is, what do I truly value? There's a reason why back in the 5700, the class you had with me, God, it seems like so long ago, in the August before the start of your first year, we did an exercise together where I asked you to consider what it is you truly value. At the time, what I did was give you a list of potential values, and I asked you, which of these values feels like you? Which of these things represent aspects of yourself that you genuinely cherish? Which of these values do you act upon consistently? And most importantly, which of these are values that you have sacrificed for or would? I don't know what you said back then, because there are a lot of you, and it's hard for me to remember individual people's values. But I invite you to take another look at that exercise and reclaim those values for your own. It's very easy during business school, the heat of competition, the impression management that yes, even in a place as wonderful as Johnson, goes on all the time, to remember what it is you actually value. And if you've lost that list, here are 2 other clues that'll help you figure it out. This is exercises that I've done with a small group of you, but I recommend for all of you. To remember a time when you were at your absolute best. Thinking of a time when everything seemed almost effortless. The work or task you were doing brought you tremendous joy. The people you were with brought you tremendous joy. When you would think about interacting with that location or that work or those people, you would feel full and free and wonderful. When was that time? If you can remember when that time is, that's going to tell you quite a lot about what you value. And the opposite is also true. All of us, every single one of us, you heard Professor Schmidt talk about a failure. All of us had a time when we were at our very worst, when the work we did was unfulfilling. The people we were with, we knew they were not right for us. The job was not right for us. The task was not right for us. The place wasn't right for us. All of us have that time in our lives. And if you remember right now when that was for you, that too will tell you what you value, and here's why. When you are doing work that is right for you, when you are with people who are right for you, you are acting and manifesting what you most value. And the opposite is also true. When you are doing work that drains you, people who drain you, situations that drain you, they drain you because you are being asked to behave in ways that are conflicting with what you value. So get clear on it. You should get clear on it now, before you leave us, if you possibly can. Now, of course, the privilege of youth is that you get to change your mind. All you need to know right now is what you value now, because that will tell us who you are. Question number 2. How do I want to show up? How you want to show up is a little bit different than what you value. How are you going to come into a situation and with what intention? It is incredibly, incredibly important. Some of you do yoga, and maybe you have heard of this term, sankalpa. It's a Sanskrit term. It's a vow that you make to yourself about how you want to be. What vow will you make to yourself about how you want to be? Because when the way you show up matches what you value, there is nothing more authentic, beautiful, or powerful than that. My answer to the question of how I want to show up, in case you were wondering, with power, with confidence, with passion, with conviction, with joy. That's how I've tried to show up for you every time, every day. The last question is, for what do I want to be remembered? And that might strike you as premature, after all, you are still so young. But it's an important question to ask now. because thinking now about legacy will help you be and remain authentic. The legacy that I want to leave, for what I want to be remembered, is someone who tried to be of service to as many people as possible, as often as possible. What legacy do you want to leave? To be real, ask yourself, what do I truly value? How do I want to show up? For what do I want to be remembered? I'm with my fellow February baby, Oprah Winfrey. I was once afraid of people saying, who does she think she is? Now I have the courage to stand and say, this is who I am. That's the courage that I want for you. To know who you are, to be who you are, to live who you are. I am as grateful as I can be to my colleagues, to the people who gave me this invitation, and to everyone sitting in this room and at Johnson for giving me an authentic life. Best of luck, Godspeed in living yours. Thank you.